Welcome everyone to a new video lesson. We're on section 8.1 today. We're studying the midpoint and distance formulas. So here are those two formulas. The midpoint, let's first talk about what a midpoint is. You have 2 points, there's your segment, and the midpoint is, as it states, in the middle of the 2 points. So there's your midpoint. And to find that, what it kind of is it's an average. You add up the x's and divide by 2, so it's the averages of the x's and the average of the y's, or adding up the y's and dividing by 2. So that's how you find the midpoint of any segment. Now to find the distance of a segment, that's obviously different. It's the distance from one endpoint to the other. The way you do that is you add up the x's, you subtract the x's and square them. Subtract the y values, square them, add those two values together, and at the end, take the square root. So those are our two formulas that are going to get us through a lot of our problems for today's assignment. So here's our first problem. A landscape design includes 2 square flower beds and a sprinkler halfway between them. Find the coordinates of the sprinkler if centers of the flower beds are at 4, 5, and 14, 16. Maybe draw a little picture to see what this looks like here. There's 2 square flower beds. So there's one, there's the other, and there is a sprinkler that is halfway between them. So here's our sprinkler, spraying water on our flowers. It tells us to find the coordinates of the sprinkler if the flower beds are at 4, 5. So this point right here is 4, 5, and this point right here is at 14, 16. How are we going to find the halfway point between those 2 points? How are we going to find the middle of those 2 points? This is the ordered pair that we want to find. To find that, we got to do the midpoint formula. So we're going to add up the x's. The midpoint is where our sprinkler is going to be adding up the x's and then dividing by 2. That's going to be your x-coordinate, and adding up the y's and then dividing by 2. There's your y-coordinate. So 14 plus 4 is 18. 18 divided by 2. And 5 plus 6 is 21. 21 divided by 2. So our answer here is going to be 18 divided by 2, which is 9. And 21 divided by 2, 21 halves, 10.5, something like that. And there's our answer for the ordered pair of where the sprinkler is. Let's practice problem number 2. We're going to find the distance between these 2 points. If we label this one x1, y1, and label this one x2, y2, now it's as simple as putting it into our formula. The distance equals the square root. Subtract the x's. 4 minus a minus 3, that quantity squared, plus y2 minus y1, a negative 4 minus 6, that quantity squared. As we continue to simplify, 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 squared is 49. A negative 4 minus 6 is a negative 10. Squared is a positive 100. So when we get this one, we get the distance to equal the square root of 149. See if you could break down that radical whenever you do these on your assignment. The square root of 149 does not break down, so this is our answer. The distance between those 2 points is the square root of 149. Problem number 3 and 4, one of my favorite quotes is, if you have common sense, you have all the sense you need. And it basically just tells us to think about the problem and try to make sense of it. So on a straight road, here's our straight road, George is 3 miles east of a water tower. If you need a little compass rose here, north, south, east, west. We know that George is 3 kilometers east of a water tower. So I'm just going to draw a water tower right here. H for Hutch. Okay, so George is 3 kilometers east. So here's where George is. And this is 3 kilometers. And then it says that Don is 6 kilometers west of the same water tower. So here's Don, he's west of the water tower, 6 kilometers. So then it says, relative to the water tower, where is the midpoint of the positions of George and Don? So if we want to find the midpoint of where this water tower is, we're going to add up our two values, 6 plus 3, and divide it by 2. So 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. So if we're just using common sense again, here's our water tower. And here is 3 kilometers to get to the water tower. And we got to go to 4.5. So here's maybe another one, and there is where the midpoint would be. Okay, so that's the middle of my 2 points of where Don and George are. So if this is at 4.5, it does say relative to the water tower, where is the midpoint? So relative to this point right here, this distance is 1.5 kilometers. And it's 1.5 left or west. So to fully answer the question, we're going to write down the midpoint, so M equals 1.5 kilometers west of the water tower. So the midpoint is at 4.5, yes, but where is it in perspective to the water tower? It's 1.5 kilometers west of it. So that's what we have for problem number 3. Problem number 4, it tells us that Ruby is 15 miles east of Lila, and Mary is 16 miles west of Lucy, and Ruby is 12 miles east of Mary. How many miles is Lila from Lucy? I got to draw a picture, otherwise I have no idea what's happening. So if we look at Ruby is 15 miles east of Lila, let's draw a little picture here. And if Ruby is east, that means Ruby would be over here. And Lila would be over here. Ruby is east, and this distance is 15 miles. Now the next sentence here is Mary is 16 miles west of Lucy. Now we don't know where Mary is exactly, nor do we know where Lucy is, so let's wait on this second sentence. The reason why is because we know where Ruby is, so we can now place Mary. So let's do this third sentence first. Mary is 12 miles east of Mary. So here's Ruby again. And she's 12 miles east of Mary. So that means Mary must be over here somewhere. Because from Lila to Ruby is 15. This should be an A here. That distance is 15. So that means from Ruby to Mary, this distance right here is 12. And where this blue dot is, that person is Mary. Now that you know where Mary is, you can put Lucy on there. Because Mary is 16 miles west of Lucy. So Mary is left of Lucy. If we think about our compass rose again. North, south, east, west. Mary is 16 miles west of Lucy. So that means Lucy must be over here. Because from here to here is 12 miles, and Mary is 16 miles west, so Lucy is another 4 miles this way. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to you. So if this is 4 and this is 12, that means this distance right here has to be 3, because the 3 and the 12 make the 15 for that segment. How many miles is it from Lila to Lucy? Well, you have to go 3 and 12 and 4. 3 and 12 is 15. 15 and 4 is 19. The answer is 19 miles. So when you're doing this one on your assignment, put the first statement on there, and then do the third statement, and then come back and do the second statement. There's your strategy for that one. Let me know if you have any questions on that when you get to class tomorrow.